All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. Just want to say good morning. How are you? Where are you watching from? Give me an emoji on how you're doing today. So put that in the chat, put that in the feed. Man, I would love to just know how you're doing today. Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. And today, and we're going to talk about 4 signs that you are recovering from narcissistic abuse, because this is a big deal. Like this is a really big deal. And I feel like people need to know about it. People need to understand if they're healing from it, because if whew, it can be a lot. It can be a whole lot. Um, and yeah, so thank you for watching. I really love it. I try to go live every Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And so, man, if you're new here, my name is Michael Head. I am a Christian life coach, and I help people overcome their past and help them to walk in freedom. I help people to also a small business coach, so I help small businesses be able to start thriving and really get back to the roots of how they started. A lot of businesses wanted to start out, honoring the Lord with everything, and then they kind of got off track. And so I can come in and I speak to their employees and do different things like that. So there's a lot of different things I do, but my main deal is meeting with people one on one and helping them overcome some of their past and give them accountability throughout the week to just get them to start walking in freedom. And it's been beautiful. And one of those ways that I've been helping people is to realize that they can get out of narcissistic situations, and that they can overcome narcissistic abuse. And it's tough. How do I know that? Man, I've been involved in it. Like I have, I realized when I was in a kind of under some narcissistic abuse in my life, what I have learned is, what does it look like to be healing from that? And first thing, I think that we need to knock out what in the world is is a narcissist. So a narcissist it's a personality trait, and it's characterized by excessive focus on oneself. It's somebody who, man, it's about them. You're around them, and nothing. They rarely will ask questions about you. They are focused on them, who they are, what they've done, all the things. It's about them. A narcissist trait is a need for admiration. So if it's about them, then they need to hear their narc food, if you will, is you telling them how great they are, and you just being just so overwhelmed by how amazing they are, because they have a need for admiration, and they have a lack of empathy for other people. It usually involves, so a narcissist usually, that personality trait usually involves an inflated sense of self importance, and they think that they are actually a bigger deal than they are, and they have a desire for constant validation and attention. So that's a lot. And even saying that, I'm just like, golly, man, because I've been in some relationships and situations and friendships and things that was with a narcissist, and it's tough. And so you may be asking yourself, like, am I a narcissist? Like like you you're asking right now, am I a narcissist? So here's some things you can kind of look at to check off for you if you think you're a narcissist or not. So here's 8 different things you can look at. Do you have a constant need for admiration? That's the first thing. Like, do you seek attention, praise, or validation from others, and do you feel upset when it doesn't happen? So that's number one. The second thing to kind of do your own checklist of if you think you're a narcissist or not, sense of entitlement. You believe that you deserve special treatment and may get frustrated when others don't prioritize your needs or desires. So there's number two. Number three, you have a lack of empathy. So you will struggle to recognize or care about the feelings or needs of other people. You lack empathy. The fourth thing is you have a difficult time handling criticism. So someone who is a narcissist, whenever you go to criticize them, or you try to tell them, hey man, this whatever that is, man, they get defensive, angry, and they dismiss you whenever you want to give feedback or criticism. I mean, it is very obvious, because, and then you get to the point where you're like, I'm just not going to tell you that you suck. You just have to suck. And that is one way that you know you're healing, is when you're like, I'm not going to worry about you. Because again, they can't handle criticism because they think that they are the best at all things in the world. So when you go to give them criticism, or you go to give them feedback on something that isn't good, they lose it. The fifth thing is grandiosity. So grandiosity, however you say that, they have an exaggerated sense of self importance, or even their abilities. Like they fantasize about success, power, and like all the things that they have done. Like it is just like they'll tell you stories about things that you're like, that that didn't happen. Like, you didn't walk on the moon. you know, like it's like, wait, what? And then what the problem, again, these are a few ways you can know if you're a narcissist or not, and that's what we're looking at. And then you can't like question them. So if they tell you, a big story, I mean, I walked on the moon, and it is like they walked on the moon, or whatever it may be. They were the greatest athlete of all time. They were the greatest, whatever it is. You can't come back and say, come on, man, that's not true, because they'll lose it on you. And you're like, I'm just going to let you pretend like you walked on the moon. So good job. Way to walk on the moon. Number six way to look at, am I a narcissist? Number six, is the you exploit other people, and so what that means is you use others to achieve your own goals without considering the needs of others or their well-being. Meaning, you will put people in positions so that you look good, so that it all comes back to you. Even whenever things happen, when things happen, for example, maybe you're working with this person, and you're working alongside them, and you have done like all the work. They've put you in a position to do all the work, and then when it comes time to report on that work, they take all of it. Like, they're like, yeah, I did this and this and this and this, and I learned this and this and this and this, and you're sitting there like, I actually did all of that. I did every part of that. But you're like, okay, well, enjoy it. Enjoy that. That's how they exploit other people, and they use other people to get what they want or what they need. And they don't care what you feel or what you think about it. Okay. The seventh one is they struggle in relationships. Again, we're looking at like, do you have a narcissistic personality trait? Is this something about you? And again, most narcissists won't even be watching this right now, because they're like, they're already like putting me down and calling me names and all this stuff. They're back talking me, and anybody who talks about narcissistic stuff, a narcissist is going to get upset and put that person down. Just telling you. So, because the seventh thing is you struggle in relationships. I mean, your relationships are constantly marked by conflict. I mean, they're superficial. There's not true like intimacy in your relationships. You really have no friends. You're just kind of like, because you can't have friends, because you are the best at everything. And so why would anybody want to be a friend with you when you're so good at everything and you have done no wrong? That's not true intimacy. And you're focusing on most narcissists, they're going to focus on what you can gain from them. Did you hear what I just said? They're going to focus on what you can gain from them. So they think literally you are blessed that they are in your presence. So hey, I'm just telling you. And even my laugh right now, like that makes people so mad. That makes narcissists so mad because I'm not giving them their narc food. That's a real thing. Like you can actually feed a narcissist by like, oh, you're so awesome. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Like, wow. Like, and then you're like, man, I need you in my life. I need you to do these things. And it's just kind of gross. So they struggle in relationships. And the last one is they're arrogant or they have a superior attitude. And notice it's all about the same thing. These 8 different deals is that they feel superior to others and act condescendingly to them or dismissive to those that they may see as lesser. I mean, literally, they are the best. Remember, they walked on the moon. Remember, they have done everything. You don't know what you're doing. You need them in your life. Like all of those things come together, and man, that's a pretty picture of a narcissist. And you may be asking, like, man, so that seems rough. Like that is, whew, how do you? What do you do when you're in a narcissistic relationship and you're like, this is hard. This is really, really hard. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm in a good place. And so that's really the point of today's live stream. And the point of this video is I want you to realize and to look and find out, are you healing from a narcissistic relationship that you've been in? And I want to give 4 different ways to look at if you are healing in a narcissistic relationship. Because man, being in a narcissistic relationship and being under narcissistic abuse is brutal. Like it is hard. Like you really it is chaotic. Your brain becomes so obsessed with like all the things that they have done, that they're doing. It's confusing. You're just exhausted. But I want you to know that healing is possible. And today I want to show you how you can recognize it in your own life. And then at the end of this, I want you to stick around because I want to share a way that you can connect with me for coaching and helping you to maybe continue to heal from this relationship, to get out of the relationship, or to continue your process of fighting through and becoming who you were made to be to get away from this relationship. I also have a community, and you can click the link, a private community for people who man, you may be struggling hard. And I've got people in this community right now that are there and are kind of in the same place that you are. So stick around to the end because there's going to be a way that you can get in both of those with my coaching and in my community. So point number 1 of how do you know if you're healing from narcissistic abuse is you stop replaying the story. Because when you're stuck in the chaos of narcissistic abuse, your brain becomes so obsessed with the story, right? Where you're literally, and I know this for a fact because I've done it, where you spend hours trying to go back on every conversation, where you're piecing together what the narcissist did, what they said, and why. It's almost like you become a detective. You create timelines, you're keeping records, like you're keeping emails. And what you're doing is you're trying to come up with a logical answer as to why this person does or did these things. Like you're keeping screenshots of text messages, you're doing all these things because you're like, why? Like why in the world did they do this? What in the world? And so you're like, even at times, I know that for me, I've gone into a meeting with this when I was dealing with this thing literally, this thing is the narcissist. And I'd go into these meetings and I would go in there and I'm like, okay, I've got all this information, I've got all these things, and then my brain would just turn off. And then I found myself, check this out, I found myself apologizing for things that I never even did. Like what? And then you leave that meeting or that thing and you're like, what just happened? Because they did some like brain judo on you where you're just like, oh man, I don't remember anything. And so what do? You start keeping notes, you start keeping track of stuff. You're like, oh, next time I'm going to get you. Well, here's how you know you're healing is you stop replaying the story. You You stop keeping records. You stop trying to piece it all together because you realize you're never going to find the solution for why this person has done those things. So it's about letting go. That's the first sign. The second sign is the emotional intensity starts to diminish. So what that means is a big sign that you're healing is when you used to talk about the abuse of this narcissistic relationship that you're in, or coworker, or whatever it is. When you would talk about it, you would like get just flooded with emotion, like you would get into a tailspin of either anger or tears, and maybe you couldn't even mention their name without it just completely breaking you down. And you would, man, one of my clients that I work with, literally, when they would bring their name up, they would start to shake. Like I'm watching them just like lose it, because it was so emotionally triggering for them to even say their name. And then they would get angry and confused and would just bring up all this stuff. But here's what's cool. As I've been working with this person, as they are coming out of this abusive relationship, and as they are healing, what's neat is they can now say their name, that person's name, and the emotional charge has faded away. And they can talk about that experience, and we can work into the healing process of it without the gut-wrenching feeling of ugh. And so number two, how do you know if you're healing from this? Is it looks like calmness where there used to be chaos, acceptance instead of anger. That is a huge sign that you're healing from the narcissistic abuse. Number three, you start to develop clear boundaries. You develop clear boundaries. And I'm going to put, I have a worksheet that I've done on how you can set boundaries. And I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'm also going to put it in the notes below. So you can go and click on that and get that sheet on how to set boundaries. But one way that you know that you're healing from narcissistic abuse is if you start to set boundaries, and they're essential in all areas of our life. And I've got a video on boundaries that you can go and watch. But narcissists make us forget that we have boundaries. Like they don't understand boundaries, and when you put boundaries up against them, oh my gosh, I'm just telling you, it freaks them out, and they get mad because you're not giving them their food. I call it narc food. so and they hate it. But when you set up these boundaries, man, and I always picture a boundary like a square. I don't know why, but like when I'm talking to my clients about setting boundaries, I always do this, and because that is what a boundary looks like to me. And so what it looks like is you've been in situations where you've allowed things that you would never let anybody else do. Like you would never let anybody else get away with it. And you're like, what? Why am I letting this person do that? This client that I was speaking about a second ago, they would never allow people to speak to them that certain way. But somehow they found themselves excusing the behavior of this narcissist, and they were constantly, boundary breaking. I mean, it's just, you wouldn't let other people talk to you this way, but this person, you're like, man, I just kind of let it happen. Well, that's not good. Don't allow people to talk to you a certain way, no matter what. And you need to call them out. And calling out a narcissist is one of the most, it can be very frightening. It can be very frightening. But honestly, you start to heal when you start to set boundaries. When you reclaim those boundaries, you start to say no again without feeling guilty. When they ask you to do something and you're like, man, I'm not doing that. And you say no without guilt, that's huge. And I'm able to see this client when they are able to tell this person no, that they are reclaiming their boundaries. They're taking their power back, and they're setting the limits, and they're finally realizing, here's what's so big, is that it's not selfish to protect your peace with anybody. It's not selfish to do that. But when you're coming out of a narcissistic abusive relationship, or you're in one, you don't have any peace because it's all about them. It's all about them. And they need you to feed them. Like give them all the things that they need. So how do you know you're healing? When you set those boundaries and you realize, no, I am important in this whole thing. The fourth thing and the last thing is this. But before I get into the fourth thing, I want you to know that I would love to work with you. Are you struggling? Are you in the depths of depression right now? Do you feel anxious all the time? Or do you want to set goals and you just feel like I have no goals in life? I don't know what the next step is for me. Or maybe you're like, man, I want to help people. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in a job and you don't know how to get out of it. Well, man, I want to help you. Man, send me a message. You can go to the link in the description of this video and you can find time that works best for you on my calendar and click it. And man, we'll get on a call and just kind of break it down and see how can I help you? How can I work with you to take that next step, to get you out of the depression, to get you to stop feeling so anxious all the time, to maybe help you heal in this narcissistic relationship that you're in. Or maybe you want to set goals and you actually want to hit them. And that's the great thing about having a life coach, is that I'm not just a counselor who you go and meet with once a week. I'm actually somebody who's going to keep you accountable. That's right. I'm going to text you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to check in on you. You can do the same. Like, hey, Michael, I'm struggling today. You get that when you have a coach. That's, to me, a huge difference in a coach and a therapist. Is with me, I make myself available to help you, to help set you free. So, man, reach out. Let me know what I can do to help you. Or maybe you have a family member that's struggling. You're like, man, they need to meet with Michael. I know. Let's go. I would love to meet with them, and let me know how I can help you. So the fourth thing and the last thing that you can find out if you're healing from a narcissistic relationship, narcissistic abuse, is you stop seeking their validation. This is big, because narcissists thrive on keeping you hooked, always seeking their approval. They thrive on that. And again, talking about this client who I've helped work through this abusive situation, they were constantly asking themselves, did I do enough to make them happy? Why didn't they give me the validation I needed? And so they would go overboard trying to please someone who is never going to be satisfied. They're never going to be satisfied because it's never enough, because they are the best. They have all the things. And so you stop seeking their validation, meaning you're, like I said in the first thing, you're done taking notes. You're done trying to look for certain things that kind of make you happy in the relationship or in the working situation. You're like, oh yeah, well they said this, so it's good. And or you stop trying to think through all the things that, like, okay, maybe they do like me, maybe and you're looking for their validation, and finding validation from a narcissist is like finding validation from this picture back here. Like, they're not going to give it to you. They're not. They don't understand empathy. They don't understand what you're feeling. They don't walk into a room and think, okay, everybody here is feeling a certain way. No. They walk into the room and they think they are the best. You can never outdo them. And why would they ever try to make you feel better and make you feel like you've done a good job? Because if they do that, then they haven't done a good job. So it's just not going to happen. So how do you know you're healing? Is you stop worrying about their validation. Because here's the thing. True freedom is knowing that your value doesn't depend on anybody else's opinion. The truth is, you don't need anybody's validation. The Lord is the greatest that you need validation from. Your only peace is going to come from, man, I know what the Lord thinks of me and nobody else. Guys, I'm telling you, that's so peaceful. And not walking around and thinking, man, I want to make sure, this person's good with me. This person's good. Are we good? 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 And sometimes when you've experienced trauma or pain, you always are kind of like finding out if you're good with everybody. And that's okay. But you're looking at somebody who has ran that race before, like, hey, are we good? And trying to impress people and trying to make sure that we're good and trying to move up the ladder, if you will, and trying to do all these things. And I've come to a realization in my healing process and in working really hard in this, is that it doesn't matter what other people think, as long as I am walking with the Lord and I'm doing what He has called me to do, and I'm in step with Him. What's really great is when you are able to live that way, nothing else matters. And it's super peaceful. And a narcissist hates that in you. They hate it because they want to feel wanted. They want you to come to them with all the things. And when you can be okay with who you are and you're not trying to please anybody else and you're just trying to live your life for the Lord, man, it's beautiful. Because you can start to trust yourself and what you're doing is right and not getting the validation from the narcissist. So if any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know that healing is within your reach. Like it's right there. It is. And if you're looking for support, I want you to know, like I said before, I have a community of people. It's called the Circle of Hope. I'll put a link in the description. I would love for you to check it out. You can check it out for 7 days for free. After that, it's $24 a month, and it's the best $24 that you'll spend a month. I promise you. How do I know that? Because you're gonna get a community of people who are honest and real. You're going to get a community of people who, when you're struggling, you can put it in the community and say, man, I'm struggling today. And they're going to reach out to you, give you verses. You're going to get a daily devotional from me, written from me. You're also going to get two, I do group coaching in there twice a month. So you're going to get that in the community, and you're going to get just closer to your healing. You're going to stop doing it alone. It's $24 a month. It's a lot cheaper than doing my one-on-one coaching. My one-on-one coaching is from hundreds to thousands of dollars, but it also is healing people, and those are investments that people are taking, and I'm watching them walk out their life way more free than when they start. I love that about the coaching process because they get on the first call and they're wherever they are, but then as I start working with my clients, things change in their life and there's a light to them. So there's many ways to get involved. There's many ways. So I encourage you, don't just watch this and click off and think, okay, I'm gonna wait another week, or I'm just gonna push it off, or I'm gonna do whatever it is. Man, make the choice today that you're gonna invest in yourself because you need help. You know that. You know that you need help. And you keep doing the same thing the same way and you're getting the same results. So I encourage you, man, if you're struggling, reach out. Don't let money stop you from doing that. Man, you invest in so many different things. Like you went to Starbucks this morning. You've invested in all these other things that don't really matter, but you're not willing to invest in yourself. You're not willing to take the jump into you getting some accountability and getting some therapy with somebody who has been there and someone who has walked through it and someone who's going to take you out of it with the Lord. So I encourage you to do that today. So where are you watching? Who's on here? Let's have a conversation. We've got a few people on here right now. I would love to have a conversation. Who is on here right now? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat and just say, "Yo, what's up? I'm on here. I'm watching from where you're watching from. I would love just to say hello to you. Put it in the chat. Give me a hearts up if you're watching on YouTube. Give me a hearts up. Give me a thumbs up. Whatever that is. Just say hello. Where you're watching from. Would love to have a conversation. We're on here right now. Lady Grace, good to see you. Avery Tay, good to see you. Josh Lastra, my man, awesome. Taylor, Caitlin, Faith, Grace, good to see you guys. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just say hello. Just say hi. Give me an emoji. So there you go. That if you're jumping on now, you need to watch the replay of what we just talked about. We talked about how do you know if you're healing from narcissistic abuse. I feel like it was pretty strong. I feel like it's pretty good. So encourage you to check out the replay. But it's been good. And again, I'll be here every Thursday at 8:30 Central Standard Time. And I hope that you have a great